But it's very weird that Aoyama is being singled out here, right? I mean, you have to at least admit that. So we're finally getting to see some of the art that came from that art exhibition from like 2 weeks ago, I think. Because I guess all of the art was also printed in this book, and somebody took pictures of the, I guess, most interesting pages, and they're online now, so that's what I want to talk about in this video. And the first thing I want to talk about is this very peculiar image of Aoyama, because it may or may not confirm some of the suspicions that we've had of him for a while now, and that is he the traitor? Now, before I go any further, let me just say that I know that a lot of you think that there is no traitor anymore, and that Horikoshi even just straight up dropped that storyline. And I'm not even really too sure myself. Maybe Horikoshi did drop that storyline, and maybe there is no traitor, or maybe there still is. But now that this image has come out, it kind of makes me think back on the series, or at least Aoyama within it, and it's making me question him all over again. So we see Aoyama like sitting down, looking in your direction, and then behind him are like these two doors or something, like opening up, and then there's like this creature coming out of it. Kind of looks like Shuma Gorath from Marvel vs. Capcom 2. And I guess the creature is also looking in your direction as well. So what does this mean? Well, I mean, I don't know for sure. It's certainly up for interpretation. Now, the first thing I'll say is that it's very interesting that it's specifically Aoyama here that is getting this singular spotlight with this specific art piece, and with it having this ominous undertone to it, because clearly Aoyama has been like oddly suspicious for a while now, and he was, and I guess still is, the front runner for a lot of people's top candidate for being the traitor. So a couple arcs ago, Aoyama was acting very strange around Izuku, and at that point in time, it kind of felt like Horikoshi may have been like shoving it in our face that Aoyama is suspicious, or that we're supposed to think that he's suspicious. Not even necessarily because he could be the traitor, but just for the sake of him being suspicious. But as that little minor storyline continued on, I guess it kind of fizzled out into us just believing that Aoyama was kind of just like a weird guy, and it ultimately boiled down to him seeing parallels with Izuku about how both of their quirks are not compatible with their bodies. And that was pretty much it. That's just where that went. Which led me to believe that, oh, I guess Aoyama was just a red herring, possibly. But now that we have this image of him, it makes me think maybe that wasn't a red herring. So let me also go over the other suspicious things that have happened with Aoyama throughout the series. So we actually recently talked about Aoyama being the traitor in my collab with Turtle Quirk and Vocal Pineapple.
My only random Hail Mary might be that Aoyama might have some sort of involvement or knowledge of who the traitor is, because there's that weird conversation that he had with Deku about not trusting still waters that run deep or something like that. I feel like Aoyama has some sort of like darkness behind, you know, the obvious twinkling and lights and all the glitz and glamour. You know, besides his backstory with his quirk and whatnot, I feel like there's something more to Aoyama, and maybe not necessarily that he's the traitor, but maybe he's like trying to figure it out, or maybe he has some sort of idea, and I really hope that he gets tied into that somehow.
So Aoyama, definitely suspicious, and I was always on the fence about, is that just a red herring from Horikoshi? Does he just want us to think that Aoyama is suspicious, or that he's just eccentric and like pseudo-French or something? But there is that one really weird sequence which I still can't make sense of.
And I mentioned the moment between Aoyama and Dabi in the training camp arc, about how it seemed like Dabi straight up sees Aoyama hiding behind the bushes, but then ultimately does nothing about it. But also how the anime and the manga handles this sequence differently. In the anime, it really makes it seem like they see each other. In fact, Aoyama even says, "Our eyes met," but in the manga sequence, it seems a little more ambiguous, and we don't get the "our eyes met" line. We get "did he sense me?" So I guess it's up in the air whether Dabi actually did see Aoyama or they didn't see each other, because, you know, the two conflicting continuities here. But the main takeaway from that is, like, if Dabi did see Aoyama, then that means that Aoyama was the traitor, and he ultimately was the one who told the League of Villains about the training camp, and Dabi knew this, so that's why he wasn't too concerned about Aoyama hiding behind the bushes, I guess. It's just a possibility. I'm not saying it's concrete or anything. But going back to the collab that I was in, Vocal Pineapple brings up the sequence in chapter 168 where Aoyama is like still acting weird around Izuku. Where like using his laser, he engraves like a French phrase into the rock. And it turns out that it says still water runs deep, which could also mean like it's the quiet ones you have to watch out for, or a wolf in sheep's clothing. And this right here is probably the most intriguing bit of evidence to support that Aoyama is either a traitor or has something to do with the traitor. Because going back to what I was talking about, how it fizzling out with Aoyama kind of just relating himself to Izuku with them both having quirks that their bodies aren't compatible with. What does that phrase really have to do with that? That's way more ominous than anything, right? And now going back to this art exposition image makes me think that maybe that actually did mean something significant. And it takes me back to what I said about how this image is up for interpretation. Either Aoyama himself is the traitor and this Shumagorath type monster represents like the monster building up inside of him, like he's carrying this weight on his shoulders or something, like he is the traitor, but maybe he doesn't necessarily want to be the traitor. The eye could also represent how Aoyama is always watching from a distance, always paying attention to his classmates. Or it could mean that Aoyama maybe even knows who the traitor is. Like it's not him, but it's somebody else, and he's kind of just been holding it within himself, and he doesn't want to reveal who the traitor is himself. Well, maybe it's not necessarily a student, maybe it could be a teacher or just, you know, just a hero or just somebody on their side. And that could go into the still water runs deep line. But it just keeps bringing me back to, I don't know, but it's very weird that Aoyama is being singled out here, right? I mean, you have to at least admit that. It could have just been any student in class 1A, but it's him with this weird, ominous Shumagorath stuff going on. And then of course, there's the possibility that this means nothing and it's just a fun little image that Horikoshi wanted to make, and maybe it doesn't even relate to anything that we're talking about, and maybe it's just something that has to do with Aoyama's internal character that has no sinister or ominous undertones to it at all. But yeah, I guess that's it for the video. Let me know what you think about Aoyama in the comments. Do you think he's the traitor, or do you think that he's at least suspicious at all? And if you don't think Aoyama is the traitor, let me know if you think there still is a traitor, and if you do, then who do you think it is? But yeah, let me know. And if you liked the video, guys, please give it a like. And please subscribe if you haven't already. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.